When it comes to successful leadership, where you need to have the focus as a leader or as a consultant helping organizations to turn around is something that would help you to maximize the time that you invest. All of us have a fixed time, and how we actually go about leveraging the time is what determines the maximum potential, maximum buck for the effort, as we say. When it comes to getting things done or leading from the front, one aspect is in setting the direction that, as we have already seen in one of the earlier communication, it's about setting the direction, getting the strategy and plan in place, and things like that. The second is actually moving into the execution. When it comes to the execution, there are a couple of points that a business leader must bear in mind to know where he has to spend the maximum focus, attention, his time, etc. We call it as mainly two buckets: execution responsibility and execution accountability. People get confused in this. What is execution responsibility? This is all that goes before actually going into the execution mode, including the reviews that you do while actual execution happens. Deciding what kind of teams to have, what are the kind of budget, what kind of resources, what kind of manpower to commit, what kind of knowledge to get into the space to get it done, the execution part. When it comes to execution, of course, you'll have an execution plan, and there is a big difference between having an execution plan and an execution strategy. People always get sort of the two mixed up. An execution plan, you may say, is once the base plan of getting the goal into execution mode ready. How do you go about actually getting the execution done? Whether it's in production, marketing, sales, R&D, HR, admin, whatever it may be. The second, actually, which is more important in getting the execution plan to go ahead and happen, is what we call as execution strategy. How do we ensure that the plan that you have in place would actually get done? And that's where the strategy comes in. And once you have the execution strategies in place, is when you actually move into actual execution. Hence, if you look at execution responsibility, it's a mix which takes place where it involves the key decisions that you need to take about execution. What kind of resources to get, what kind of budget, what kind of teams, what kind of challenges that might come through, and all that. And execution strategies in ensuring that the plan that you have in place, which involves right from having incentives for the team, periodical reviews, and so many other inputs. Once that is in place, we have execution responsibility. Execution responsibility is all about inputs, whereas execution accountability is about output. That's where normally rolling up the sleeves might look to happen, but actual rolling up the sleeves and getting into the work happens even the nuts and bolts, as they say, even at the time of actual execution responsibility stage. Execution accountability is when the person who actually does the job takes up ownership for the output, the results. And that to a great extent is determined by the input. If the input is not proper, the output is not likely to be proper in all most cases, you can say, unless you have luck going in your favor. Hence, if you look at it, business leaders focus, a consultant's focus will have to be more on execution responsibility, which is just the next step after you have crossed the direction stage. And the moment you expect the managers, the key leaders, or even the top team members to focus more on execution accountability, then they would go about justifying the ends by going through any means that might help them to reach the ends. It is better that you bifurcate normally the execution responsibility factor and the execution accountability factor, though the two set of team members may be working in tandem. Execution responsibility is normally the job of mid to top level management, and execution accountability, where people actually get on and execute, and they are the ones who are in charge of getting the results. The people who are in charge of execution responsibility would obviously be helping those in execution accountability by realigning, regrouping, taking corrective steps in case the execution actually fails. But their main job is to think through the execution plan and to help them bind the plan together to ensure it happens by thinking through the proper execution strategy. If you're able to get a clarity on this, you will know where to spend your 80-20 rule, time base. For example, 80% of results come from the 20% of focus that you have. And if your 20% of focus is on execution responsibility, you can be rest assured that the execution accountability is something which should be in place too. Till we meet again, thank you.